Though times have passed, culture still plays a huge role in shaping how people live. Don't get me wrong, our culture has given us some of the most beautiful values. The principle of Ubuntu, the sense that I am because we are. But we have also seen culture being used as a weapon, a way to silence, a way to control, and to harm, especially women. In this story, we step into the life of Nandi, a young woman who loved deeply, who dreamed fiercely, but who was forced to taste the bitterness of culture's cruelty. In the south of Africa, in a small dusty village called Hosaka, there lived a family. The father, Mr. Bassi, was a man carved from stone, respected by neighbors, feared by his children. He led his household with an iron fist. To him, a man's word was law, and his word was final. His wife, Mrs. Bassi, lived in his shadow. She was quiet, submissive, the kind of wife who bent her back to serve, never daring to raise her voice. People in the village praised her obedience, but those who looked closely could see the sadness in her eyes, a sadness born from years of silence. The Passis had three children. The eldest was Nandi, 18 years old. She was bright eyed, determined, and her dreams stretched far beyond the borders of Hosaka. She wanted to be a chef, to cook dishes that carried stories, to one day leave her village and work in the bustling city restaurants she had only heard about in whispers. But her father did not believe in girls' education. To him, daughters were flowers meant to be plucked and replanted in another man's garden. The less they knew, the more obedient they would be. Nandi's brother, David, was 15, and already he was walking in his father's footsteps. He had learned quickly that man had the louder voice, the stronger hand, and the sharper tongue. Though Nandi was older, David often dismissed her as if she were nothing. Their youngest, Soso, was only 10, still innocent, still watching quietly as the world around her taught her what it meant to be a woman. This was home. This is the home where Nandi's story began. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. The sun was beginning to set over Hosaka. The air was heavy with the smell of dust and smoke from the cooking fires. Children's laughter drifted through the village, mixing with the clucking of hens being ushered into their coops. It was a scene of ordinary life. Yet inside the Pasi household, the air was tense. Mr. Bassi sat outside on a wooden stool, his strong arms folded across his chest, his stern eyes fixed on the dirt road. He was waiting. Nandi had not yet returned home. Her mother, Mrs. Bassi, stood by the doorway, wringing her hands. She knew what this silence meant. When her husband grew quiet like this, storms followed. Finally, Mr. Basti spoke, his voice sharp as the crack of a whip. Where is she? Where is that girl wandering at this hour? Mrs. Basti lowered her gaze. She went to the river with Soso. She will return soon. He turned his head slowly, his eyes narrowing. A girl her age has no business wandering. She should be here, preparing the meal, learning her place. Instead, she spends her time dreaming of things that do not concern her. Mrs. Bassi wanted to defend her daughter, to remind him that Nandi was still young, that she carried hope in her heart, but the words stuck in her throat. She whispered instead, "She will be back soon." At that very moment, laughter floated down the road. Nandi appeared, walking alongside her little sister. Soso was carrying a bundle of firewood, while Nandi held a small basket of wild herbs she had collected. "Father," Nandi greeted, lowering her eyes in respect, but her father did not reply. He rose from his stool, towering over her. "Where have you been?" he demanded. "To the river, father," Nandi said softly. "I was fetching water with Soso." His voice grew louder. "Always the river, always wandering. Do you think this house will run itself while you chase foolish dreams?" Nandi's lips trembled, but she lifted her chin slightly, her voice calm. I only want to help, Father, and I was thinking about my future. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the sound of crickets beginning their nightly chorus. Her father's eyes burned. Your future, your future is here. Your future is in the kitchen. Your future is in a man's house when the time comes. Do not speak of dreams to me. Behind him, David snickered. The 15-year-old boy leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a smirk playing on on his lips. You see, Nandi, father is right. What future does a girl need? Soon you will be married, and then you can cook all you want in your husband's house. Soso looked up at her sister, her small face worried. Nandi turned towards her brother, her voice steady, despite the sting of his words. Respect, David. I am still your elder, even if you think little of me. But David only laughed, his young voice mocking, an elder with empty dreams. Mrs. Bassi stepped forward, her hands trembling. Enough, please, let us eat in peace. Her plea was ignored. Mr. Bassi's hand clenched into a fist, though he did not strike. Instead, he pointed towards the doorway. Go inside, Nandi. I do not want to hear another word about this nonsense of school or work. You will do as you are told. For a moment, Nandi's eyes glistened with unshed tears, but she pressed her lips together. She turned silently and walked into the house, her posture straight, her dignity intact, even as her dreams felt like they were slipping further away. Nandi sat quietly in the corner of the small hut, the glow of the cooking fire dancing across her face. Her mother moved silently, stirring a pot of beans. Soso hummed softly as she arranged firewood. For a while, the only sounds were the bubbling of the pot and the crackle of the flames. But Nandi's mind was elsewhere. Her heart still clung to the thought of a different life, of kitchens filled with spices and laughter, not command and silence. Later that evening, when the meal was finished and the family had eaten in tense silence, Nandi slipped outside with Soso to fetch water. On the way back, they stopped by the riverbank where fireflies hovered like tiny stars. Soso, carrying her small clay pot, glanced at her sister. Sister, why do you make father so angry? Nandi sighed, kneeling to tie the basket more tightly. Because I see a life he does not believe in. Because I dream, Soso. The little girl frowned. Dreams make people angry? Nandi smiled faintly, brushing Soso's braids back from her face. Sometimes, but dreams also give us wings. Soso giggled, shaking her head. One day maybe you will fly away. Nandi's gaze lifted to the dark horizon, where the faint glow of the nearby city pulsed against the night sky. One day, she whispered. The following afternoon, Nandi walked with her friend Kanyi along the narrow path that wound between tall grass and fields of maize. Kanyi's voice was full of wonder as she spoke. I heard in the city they have shops that never close and food that you can buy already cooked. They even have schools where girls sit beside boys. Nandi's eyes lit up. And kitchens filled with stoves that burn without wood, ovens that bake bread in minutes. That is where I want to be, Kanyi. Cooking food the world has never tasted. Kanyi laughed, nudging her shoulder, and I will be your first customer. Remember that. Both girls laughed, the sound bright against the rustle of the evening wind. As twilight settled, Nandi lingered near the tall tree that marked the edge of the village. There, Mehluli was waiting. He was older than her, 23 years old, with broad shoulders and kind eyes. His family was wealthy by village standards, their compound large and well kept, with cattle that grazed far into the hills. When he saw Nandi, his face broke into a smile. Mehluli said, voice soft and steady, I was afraid you would not come. Nandi glanced around nervously. If my father finds out, he will. He stepped closer, his tone gentle. I only want to see you, Nandi. You are all I think about. Her heart pounded. But I cannot promise you anything. My father, he he has already chosen the path for me. Mehluli reached for her hand, his voice firm. Then let me walk with you on that path. Let me be the one to change it. I will fight for you, Nandi. For a moment, she hesitated. Then slowly, she allowed her hand to rest in his. A shy smile tugged at her lips. But not far away, hidden in the tall grass, David crouched low, his eyes burning with jealousy and anger. He whispered to himself, his young voice bitter. So this is what she does while father works. Shameful. She dares disgrace us like this. His fist clenched as he rose to his feet. He turned and ran away down the path towards home, dust rising behind him with every angry step. They say a secret is like fire hidden in dry grass. It always finds a way to burn. And now Nandi's secret was racing straight into the hands of the one man she feared most.